the consumer surplus. The consumer surplus is the difference between the marginal value for each good and what we actually have to pay for that good, the price of the good. So if we have the quantity of the good that we're interested in on the horizontal axis, and we have the price per unit of the good on the vertical axis, then we will have a demand function like this one. That's a negatively sloped one. And that gives us the marginal value for each of the units. So if it's summed all over the individuals on the market, then it's the market demand, and if it's one individual, then it's that individual marginal value for each unit. So let's take an example, unit example, this unit. Then we go up to the demand function, and we see that this unit, exactly this unit, has this value. The individual thinks that this unit has this value for her. And since marginal utility is diminishing, it indicates that if we are increasing the quantity up to the quantity equilibrium, for instance, then the marginal value for that unit has to be lower than it was for the example unit. So the marginal value has gone down, which we see here. The price equilibrium is lower than the value for unit example. If you now make the example, that indicates that if we sum all of them together, like this, the area beneath the demand function in a certain area will become the total willingness to pay, or the total value for all of these goods for the consumer. So the consumer thinks, or the market thinks, that all of these units have a total value of this area here. And if you make the assumption that they are price takers, all of them, they can't do anything about the price, and we face a price that is price equilibrium on this market, then we have to pay this equilibrium price for each unit. So for instance, unit example has a value up there, but we just have to pay that price there. So the difference there will be an overvalue, and that is called the consumer surplus for that unit. So if we sum all the expenditures that the consumers have, then that will be this greenish area here. So we see that we have taken away some of, but not all of it, of the total value. So the difference here between the total willingness to pay and what we actually have to pay, that is the consumer surplus. So the difference between the individual of the market's marginal value and price for each unit, summed over a certain number of units. That's the sum of marginal value minus the price and quantity. And since it says sum for a certain number of units, we can look at it for the quantity from unit example up to quantity equilibrium, for instance. That indicates that this is the value for those units, and we have to pay that area down there. So the consumer surplus for those units will be this blue triangle, like that.